Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mamas, and welcome back to Coffee, Clients, and Nap Time. I'm Sarah Marie, and today's episode is one that I just had to record right now while it's sitting with me, because it's been a week of conversations that have all circled back to the same thing, and that's the cost of saying yes. And the timing feels relevant because in human design, we track the sun as it moves through different gates, and right now it's moving through gate 29, which in the human design system is associated with commitment, devotion, and the kind of yes that actually has energy behind it. Now, I'm not going to go deep into the human design mechanics today, but the theme of it landed for me this week in a way that I really wanted to talk about. Because here's the thing about gate 29 energy. It's not just about saying yes more intentionally. It's about recognizing that your yes has a cost and asking whether that cost is one that you actually want to agree to. And that question has been living in my head all week. And I think it might need to live in yours for a little bit too. So let's get into it. I want to start talking about the yes, because every yes costs something, every single one, without exception. When you say yes to a client, you're saying yes to their project, their timeline, their communication style, their energy, and their expectations. You're saying yes to work that comes with them, the emotional labor that comes with them, and the mental real estate they'll occupy in your head for the duration of that work. And when you say yes to an opportunity, you're saying yes to everything that opportunity requires of you: the preparation, the time, the energy, the pieces of your life that will just be pushed into the margins while that thing takes center stage. And when you say yes to a commitment, like a collaboration or an event or a project or a new offer or a speaking gig or a volunteer role or even someone else's idea that they want your involvement in, you're not just agreeing to the thing itself. You are agreeing to carry it for however long it takes, alongside everything else that you're already carrying. And most of us, when we say yes, we're not actually thinking about that carry. We're thinking about the thing itself, the opportunity or the client or the idea. And we're evaluating whether that thing is good, not whether we have the capacity to carry it well. So we say yes. And then somewhere between the yes and the actual doing of the thing, we discover the cost. Be it late nights, or the mental load, or the stress of fitting it in around the kids, or even the resentment when it takes over more than we expected, or the guilt when we can't give it the energy that we thought that we would have. And we think the problem is that we're not organized enough, or not disciplined enough, or not capable enough to be handling it all. But I think the problem is often simpler than that. The problem is that we said yes before we asked what that yes would actually require of us to carry. Now, I believe that there are yeses that come from genuine alignment, from something that truly resonates, that fits your capacity and your season, and that you feel ready and willing and excited to commit to. Those yeses are worth the cost. You've waited and you've chosen it consciously. And then there are the other kind. It's the yes that comes from obligation, because someone asked you and you didn't want to disappoint them, because you've worked with them before and saying no feels disloyal, because the relationship matters to you and you've confused protecting that relationship with saying yes to everything that comes from it. This one I know intimately. I have said yes to things in my business, not because I wanted to do them, but because I knew that I could, because I had the skills, because turning it down felt like I was letting someone else down, even when the someone doing the asking could have been completely fine if I'd said no. Capacity is not the same as desire, And I found that confusing the two is expensive. And then there's the yes that comes from an opportunity that looks good on paper. It ticks all the boxes. It's the kind of thing that you feel like you're supposed to say yes to. The prestige, the exposure, the connection, and the validation of being asked. But somewhere beneath the logic of it, there's a quiet voice saying, I don't actually want to do this. And you talk yourself out of listening to that voice because the opportunity looks right, even if it doesn't feel right. And then there's the yes that comes from fear. Your business is quiet. Inquiries might have slowed down. You're watching your bank account even more carefully than you'd like to be. And someone comes along with an offer, and fear grabs the steering wheel before you've had a chance to think clearly. And suddenly you've said yes to something you'd have turned down in a different moment. There's the yes that comes from not wanting to be seen as difficult, as someone who says no too much, as precious or picky or not a team player. So you say yes to maintain the image of being easy to work with, and then you spend the next 3 months resenting the thing that you said yes to because you didn't actually want to do it. And there's the yes that comes from just not checking your calendar, not checking your current workload, not checking your energy or your season of life, or the reality of what else is already in the pile. A yes given before you've looked at what you're actually walking into. None of these yeses have your full self behind them. They're yeses made from fear or obligation or performance or simple inattention to your own reality. And they will all cost you something. The question is whether you realize that before or after you've already paid. Next, I want to talk about what it actually costs you when you say yes to the wrong things, because I honestly don't think we ever truly account for this. The most obvious cost is your time and energy. You only have so many hours and so much capacity. Every yes that you give to something that is not right for you is time and energy that isn't available to the things that are. I know it sounds simple, but when you're in the middle of carrying something you shouldn't have agreed to, the weight of it crowds out everything else. There's also the quality cost. When you're working on something that you said yes to out of obligation or fear or performance, you can't bring your best. You bring enough to get through it, and sometimes that's fine. But sometimes it means the work you deliver isn't the work that you're actually capable of because the energy just isn't there. Then there's the opportunity cost. The yes that you gave to the wrong thing is the no you gave to something else. The client who could have been a dream fit, but you didn't have the capacity for because you were already full of misaligned commitments. It's the project that you would have loved, but couldn't take it on. It's the rest that you needed, but couldn't take because you were too committed elsewhere. Then there's the resentment cost. And I think this one is so under-acknowledged. When you say yes to things you don't really want to do, you build up resentment. It's resentment towards the work, towards the clients or the collaborators involved, or even towards yourself for agreeing to it. And resentment is corrosive. It leaks into everything. It changes how you show up, how you communicate, and how you feel about your business overall. And then there's the trust cost. Every time you override your own knowing to say yes when you know that you should have said no, you erode your trust in yourself just a little. You teach yourself that your instincts don't matter, that the external pressure or the opportunity or the obligation that you feel is more important than your own read on the situation. And that loss of self-trust is one of the quietest and most significant costs of all, because it makes every future decision harder. You stop trusting yourself to know what's right for you, and so you outsource that decision to other people's enthusiasm or to how something looks on paper, or even to the fear of missing out. And then the cycle continues. And here's why I think this conversation hits differently for mums in business. We are praised for being capable, for being reliable, for being easy to work with, for saying yes, for showing up, and for delivering. And all those things sound wonderful. I'm going to believe they're meant as compliments, but they can quietly, gradually, become a business model built on overcommitment. Because when your reputation is built on being capable and reliable and easy to work with, saying no starts to feel like a threat to that reputation. Like you're going to shatter the image people have of you by admitting that you can't or don't want to take something on. And mums carry so much already. We carry the mental load of running the household. We carry the default parent responsibilities. We carry the emotional labour of keeping track of everyone else's needs and the invisible work that never makes it onto a to-do list, but just never stops either. So when you add business commitments on top of that, especially commitments that you said yes to without fully accounting for what else was going on, the weight becomes unsustainable. And there's another layer of this that I really want to talk about, because as women in business, we're also sold a lot of content about well-being, alignment, and self-discovery. And most of it is, well-intentioned, but there's a version of that becomes yet another thing to optimize, or another standard to meet, or another way to feel like you're not quite doing it right. And personal growth shouldn't become another thing women have to perform perfectly. And a framework like human design, or any other framework for understanding yourself better, is only useful if it actually makes your life easier, not if it becomes another system to chase and remember. So when I talk about learning to protect the quality of your yes, I am not adding another item to your self-improvement list. I'm actually suggesting the opposite. I'm suggesting that the work is about doing less, but doing it from a much more honest place. Saying yes to fewer things, but meaning it fully when you do. Because a full body yes still needs a calendar, a price point, and enough capacity to not make future you want to fake her own disappearance. And that's not me being dramatic. That's just real. Now, I want to bring in the human design piece here for just a moment because it is so relevant, and not just because Gate 29 is doing its thing this week. One of the most practically useful things human design gives you is a framework for decision making that's so specific to you. It's not a general rule about how to make good decisions, but a way of understanding how your particular nervous system and body and energy field process a decision correctly. In human design, this is called your strategy and your authority. Your strategy is how you are designed to move through the world and create opportunities that are correct for you. And your authority is your internal decision-making mechanism. It's the part of you that knows even before your head catches up. But strategy and authority are not here to make you passive or indecisive or someone who never commits to anything. They're here to protect the quality of your yes. So when you make decisions from your authority rather than from fear or obligation or performance, you end up saying yes to things that you can actually show up for, things that have your real energy behind them, and things where you don't spend the duration of the commitment quietly wishing that you'd said no. And that matters so much because a yes that comes from your authority is one you can sustain. It's one where your natural energy shows up rather than having to be manufactured. It's one where you're building something that fits how you actually work rather than constantly fighting against it. But the goal isn't to say yes to everything that excites you or to say no to everything that feels hard. Some of the most valuable things we can do in business are uncomfortable. The goal is to be honest about why you're saying yes, and to make sure that the yes has your actual self behind it, not just your fear or your people pleasing or your habit of agreeing because you can. That's the work. And human design, for me, is one of the clearest frameworks I've found for doing it. Now, before we wrap up, I want to give you something practical to take away. The next time something comes across your desk, your inbox, your DMs, or your own brain, be it an opportunity or a client inquiry, or a collaboration, or a new idea, or even someone else's request for your time or energy, before you answer, ask yourself these questions. What does this yes actually require me to carry? And I want you to think here not just about the obvious things, but the whole thing. the time, the energy, the mental load, the emotional labor, the logistical reality of fitting all that into your life. Why am I considering saying yes? Is it because this genuinely resonates and I have the capacity for it? Or is it because I feel obliged? Or because the opportunity looks good on paper? Or because my business is quiet and fear has grabbed the wheel? Do I actually want to do this? Or do I just know that I can do it? Because capability is not the same as desire. And a yes based on capability without desire behind it is going to cost you more than you think. What season am I in right now? And does my current capacity, my real capacity, not the aspirational version I wish I had, actually have room for this? What does future me think about this? And I'm not talking about the version of you who's excited about the idea right now in this moment. I'm talking about the version of you who'll be doing the actual work in 6 weeks' time when the excitement has worn off and it's just another thing to be done in your pile. And if you are into human design, I want you to add this one as well. Does this align with how I'm designed to work? Does it honor my strategy and authority? Or am I being pulled by something external? Now, these aren't questions designed to make you say no to everything. They're questions designed to make sure that when you do say yes, you mean it fully with your whole self. Because a yes like that, that's where your best work comes from. That's where the clients you love come from. And that's where the opportunities that actually change things come from. And a yes like that is worth far more than 100 yeses you gave away to keep the peace or fill the quiet or to even avoid the discomfort of saying no. So before you say yes this week, ask what that yes will require you to carry it and make sure it's a cost that you actually agree to. So if this episode has made you think about a yes you've given recently that you're not sure you fully meant, send me a DM at Balanced Biz Mama and tell me. I would love to hear what came up to you. And if you want to go deeper in understanding your own human design, specifically how your strategy and authority can help you make decisions that actually fit, I would love to work through that with you in a one-on-one decode session. A decode session is where we look at your human design chart together and I help you understand how you're actually wired to make decisions, show up, and build. It's one of the most clarifying things you can do for your business, especially if you've been feeling like something's been slightly off, but you can't quite name it. You'll find the link to book in the show notes. And remember, Mama, your yes has a cost. So make sure it's one that you actually agreed to. Protect the quality of your yes and trust that the right things will still be there when you say yes from a place that's real. And until next time, you've got this. Thanks for joining me on Coffee, Clients and Nap Time. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.